Hands up. Now. Kendra froze mid-step, her heart slamming against her ribs. The shout cut through the quiet Baltimore air like a blade. She turned slowly. Two white police officers stormed toward her, hands hovering near their weapons, eyes fixed with suspicion. Her backpack slipped from one shoulder. "Put your hands where we can see them," the older officer barked. His badge read Greer. The younger, leaner one beside him was Cobb. I didn't do anything," Kendra stammered, lifting her hands. "Turn around. Now. I'm just walking home." Cobb was already behind her. Without a word, he yanked her arms down and cuffed her wrists with a jerk. Pain shot through her shoulders. "What is this about?" she gasped. "I didn't do anything wrong. Quiet." Greer snatched her backpack and flung it open on the hood of their cruiser. Her papers, lunch, a pen, and a sealed folder spilled out. Then, her DOJ credential. "What's this?" Cobb narrowed his eyes. Kendra swallowed hard. "It's my internship ID. I'm part of the Federal Justice Outreach Program. Today was my first day." Greer laughed bitterly. "You expect us to believe that? I can prove it. Ask Mr. Barnes at the courthouse. Check the schedule. Get in the car," Greer growled. "Enough lies." The cruiser door slammed. She sat motionless, watching her neighborhood disappear through the window, her wrists digging into cold metal cuffs. The station. No one looked at her. A female officer searched her. Then came the holding cell, gray cinder block walls, flickering light, metal bench. Time passed. She lost track. Her voice turned hoarse from asking the same unanswered question. "Why am I here?" Eventually, Cobb returned. "Let's talk." He led her to a small room. No windows. Metal table. Folder in front of him. She sat across, her cuffed hands trembling. "You were seen near the scene of an armed robbery this afternoon." A witness described a young black female in a hoodie and backpack. Kendra shook her head. "I was at the courthouse all day. There's footage. Logs. My supervisor, he'll confirm it." "No footage reviewed yet," Cobb said flatly. "You matched. That's enough." Her fingers tightened into fists. "You think I'm guilty because of how I look? We're doing our job." "No, you're profiling." Outside, behind the two-way mirror, Officer Ramirez watched. Something felt wrong. Kendra leaned forward. "You humiliated me. Ignore my ID. Search me like a criminal." "Why?" "Because I don't look like someone who works in justice." Cobb shifted in his seat. The smugness faltered. Then Ramirez entered with a tablet. "Sir, courthouse footage shows she entered at 8:12 a.m. and left at 3:35 p.m. Her supervisor called. He's furious." Cobb stared at the screen, then at Kendra. "Told you," she whispered. Ramirez continued. "She's not our suspect. Couldn't have been near the robbery." Greer appeared in the doorway, scowling. "What's going on?" "She's not our girl," Cobb muttered. Greer looked at Kendra. "Cut her loose." Ramirez stepped forward, uncuffed her. She didn't move. "I want a phone call," she said coldly. "And a full report. Everything." Greer snorted. "You want to make this a thing?" "It is a thing." But Kendra didn't leave. She sat back down. "I'm not going anywhere until you write down why you stopped me, what I was accused of, and why you ignored federal ID." Greer stepped in, looming. "Look, kid, take your lucky break and go." "No," she said. "This isn't over." Ramirez hesitated, then stepped in front of her. "She has a right." Greer's jaw tightened. "We followed protocol." "Did you?" Ramirez asked. "Or did you just see a black girl and assume?" Silence. Kendra stood slowly. "I want the name of every officer involved. And the case number." Greer turned and left the room, muttering. Ramirez handed her a paper. "File a complaint. Don't let this go." She nodded, eyes sharp. "I won't." As she walked out of the precinct, her hands still red from the cuffs, a reporter was outside, talking to a man in a suit. It was Mr. Barnes. He rushed toward her. "Kendra, are you okay?" "They arrested me." No explanation. "Just assumed," she said. The reporter's mic turned toward her. "Would you like to speak on record?" Kendra stared at the camera. Her breath caught. This was her chance. But just as she opened her mouth, Greer reappeared behind her, speaking into his radio. Watching. Listening. Kendra took a breath and stepped in front of the reporter's microphone. The bright light from the camera almost blinded her, but she stood firm. "My name is Kendra Williams. I'm 28. I'm a legal intern for the Department of Justice. Today, I was profiled, arrested, and humiliated for simply walking home. The reporter leaned in. You say you were arrested without cause? They said I matched a description, she said, her voice steady. The only thing I matched was being a black girl with a backpack. Mr. Barnes placed a hand on her shoulder. We're filing a formal complaint. This will not go unnoticed. Within hours, local news stations had the footage. DOJ intern wrongfully arrested, the headlines read. On social media, her story exploded. Hashtags like hashtag Justice for Kendra and hashtag Walking While Black began trending. Civil rights attorneys reached out. Georgetown's dean of admissions sent her a message of support. But inside the precinct, officers Greer and Cobb were silent. What now? Cobb asked quietly. Greer scoffed. She made it a damn media circus. She has a right to. Greer glared at him. Since when are you on their side? Cobb didn't answer. The next morning, Kendra and her mother walked into City Hall alongside Mr. Barnes, a local NAACP lawyer, and a dozen reporters. They were there to file an official misconduct complaint against officers Greer and Cobb. The press conference. Kendra spoke again, this time more composed. I worked hard for every opportunity I've earned. But none of that mattered when I was seen as a threat first and a person second. I want change, not just for me, but for every black girl who gets stopped for no reason. The crowd applauded. Greer watched the clip later that night on TV, jaw clenched. You embarrassed the department, his captain said during a disciplinary meeting. She fit the description, Greer muttered. She had federal credentials. Greer remained silent. Within a week, an internal investigation was launched. Body cam footage showed the officers ignoring Kendra's explanation, mocking her credentials, and cuffing her without probable cause. The mayor issued a public statement. We failed Kendra Williams. We must do better. But Kendra didn't stop there. With the support of her internship director and Georgetown law professors, she helped organize a town hall on police accountability. The room was packed. She stood at the podium, trembling slightly. I used to believe the law was about fairness, about truth, but now I know it's also about who the system listens to. I don't want to burn it down. I want to fix it. From the inside, one by one, students, parents, and activists stood to share their own stories. Kendra listened, took notes, and later helped draft a proposal for better anti-bias training for city officers. Meanwhile, Officer Cobb sat alone in his car one evening, watching the same streets he'd patrolled for years. He thought about that day, about how she'd begged them to listen, how he hadn't spoken up. He filed his own report with Internal Affairs that week. Quietly, without fanfare, Greer, however, doubled down. In an interview with a conservative local paper, he claimed Kendra had staged everything for attention. But public opinion had shifted. The footage was clear. His words rang hollow. 2 months later, Kendra received a letter. The department had suspended Officer Greer without pay, pending termination. Cobb had been reassigned and placed under retraining protocols. More importantly, the department approved new training guidelines inspired by her recommendations. At her final day in the DOJ internship, Mr. Barnes handed her a framed copy of her badge. You turn pain into policy. That takes strength. As she left the office, a familiar face stood waiting, Ramirez. He smiled. I testified in the review board hearing. Told them what I saw. You were brave. Thank you, she said. But this isn't over. There are more voices to lift. Outside, the sky was wide and blue. She walked down the courthouse steps, this time not as a suspect, but as a changemaker. At Georgetown's fall orientation, she told her story to other incoming students. Some cried, some nodded, some sat in stunned silence. Afterward, one girl approached her. You made me believe I can be something more. Kendra smiled. You already are. Weeks passed, but the impact remained. Kendra's town hall became an annual event. Her story was studied in criminal justice courses. Her name appeared in op-eds, youth summits, and podcasts. She was no longer just the girl who got arrested. She was Kendra Williams, future attorney, policy advocate, and the girl who refused to be quiet.